Think we might be live, ladies and gentlemen. 4:00 p.m. Canoga Park, California, March 21st, 2024. This episode is brought to you by EagleRider Motorcycle Rentals and Tours. Don't forget to check out 2LaneLIVE.com under the EagleRider tab to see how you can book a trip, save some money, and have a good time while you're at it. This episode is also brought to you by Law Tigers Motorcycle Attorneys. Run yourself into some trouble, give them a call. Boys, who do we got today?
Well, we were just talking. It's kind of ironic. Monday, we picked up a chopper from Maria Gomez and her late husband, Luis. And thank you, by the way, for donating that. All of our fans are going to be able to see that. And now we have one of the most iconic chopper guys around that's in our backyard.
I don't know about it.
Come on. We see all over.
Yeah.
Not only a chopper guy, but now we know he's a cowboy, a roper, a wrangler. I take my hat off to him because,
So did you spend time at the Cowboy Palace?
Yeah, actually, I used to ride my horse there every once in a while. Sure. After roping, ride the horse down there.
Yeah.
Somebody told me you could get a DUI on a horse. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
It is true.
I'm
Really?
surprised I didn't get a DUI on a horse. But,
Did you ever play there? Because you're a musician.
they had some talent nights every once in a while. You get up there and sing a song or something like that. It was always fun. I don't like karaoke, but if you got a live band behind you,
Right.
I'm good with that.
So, it's kind of cool. We travel, we go a long distance. We're always on new machines. You travel, you go the distance too, but you're on old machines.
We are. Yeah. Yeah. We got a great group of guys that I ride with. I love every one of them, and we just have the best time. But yeah, we just kind of chose the old route, it's why they make different kinds of cars. Not everybody wants to drive the same one. We like the old bikes that tend to, break down on the side of the road, leak oil, be problematic. But, something about riding an old chopper versus, in my opinion, riding, modern bikes. On the modern bike, we tease you guys and call them sofas, You're kind of just along for the ride, where the old bikes, I think you're like more in tune with your bike and the road, and there's just not that much around you, and the whole riding experience is really, really different.
Well, I can attest to that.
Yeah.
I didn't even go very far. So I was just headed down Canoga Avenue.
Right.
And I was doing fine. And it's weird because on this one, the shifter's on the other side.
Yeah.
And there's no platform.
Sportsters.
Yeah. So 75 Sportster, Ironhead.
Hey.
But then, I started fixating on the front wheel because it's got that big rake out there, and it's like bouncing a little bit. And I'm going, I never checked the bolts on that. Is that thing coming off?
Hey, eventually.
So I slowed it down to like 35, so I could, if I was going to go over, I was going to go over and run, and then fall.
Right.
But
I rode it a teeny bit, not as much as him, but it's like just the long forks, and it's like, well, you really have to get used to it. And I see you guys riding around, and I'm like, they rip on them. You obviously become one with the bike because you have to.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to know your bike. Old bikes aren't for everybody because they break down a lot, and you have to know your bike, and you have to be able to fix stuff on the side of the road. And luckily, I ride with a lot of guys that really know a lot more bikes. To be honest, a lot more about bikes than I do, and they've been doing this a lot longer than I've been doing it. But between all of us, the tools that we have, it's just amazing what somebody will need, and then somebody will have it, and we're like, oh man, where are we going to get one of those? And my buddy Dave usually is like, oh, I got one. I'm like, what? It sort of feels like you could completely rebuild the motor on the side of the road.
So is it like nuts and bolts, wire, tape, all kinds of stuff? Yeah.
Gilby's the nuts and bolt guy. Gilby has, every nut and bolt that you could possibly need on an American built bike. And, whenever we see somebody broke down on the side of the road, we'll help them. And it really is, if we ride longer than, 100 miles, I'm going to say somebody's bike's going to break down.
Really?
Now we've had some rough days. I remember one guy got 3 flats on one trip, and it was actually we put on this Pappy and Harriet's chopper party out at Pappy and Harriet's in Pioneer Town near Joshua Tree, and one guy got 4 flat tires on the way out there, and we couldn't figure out what in his rim was puncturing the tube. Yeah, it took us all day long to get there. Sadly, another guy got in an accident that day and shattered his knee, had to be airlifted out.
Where was he when that happened? Why did we see him?
He was in Apple Valley.
Where were we when we pulled up and there was a bunch of choppers and they were going out and a guy got in a wreck? And I think
was it right off a freeway?
It was off Wrightwood, up in Wrightwood on the way. No, okay.
Nope. This was he was losing power on the 15 freeway going north, and he somehow or another he regained his power, came back, and so maybe it was a clog or something, and then he started going down this very long on ramp. But he had built up a lot of speed, and then he lost his brakes going down the hill.
Jeez.
And we pulled over because we didn't know where he was. And Gilby is on a headset with the guy, and the guy's going, "I've got no brakes," and he's going down the hill. This is Randy Madden, by the way. Hi, Randy. Hope you're doing well. He goes straight down the hill, right through the intersection, and hits this block wall. Shatters his knee, flies over the wall towards these train tracks, and what does he land on? Freaking lava rock, like the worst possible thing you could land on. And his only concern was that he didn't want to pay for the helicopter ride, and the EMTs are going, "Man, there's no one around here that can fix you. We've got to get you to someplace."
Right.
So
well, I also know it, like when I come back up from lunch, I got up to nice speed, and you don't feel like you're saying, you're just kind of one with the bike, and there's not a lot around you.
There's not a lot.
And it's like, I mean, it kind of reminded me back when I used to ride, motorcycles on dirt a little bit, just that feeling of not a lot of weight, but it was some of this there.
I mean, if our bikes broke down on the road, you're waiting for a tow truck. You're not going to be fixing it. But we've been very lucky. We've got hundreds of thousands of miles. The worst thing's ever happened is guys on dynos, a pipe will break, and you have to weld.
I mean, we've had almost every year, except for last year, a breakdown on a bike.
But not on the newer baggers that we have.
But so, and if you carry your tools, it's something you can fix right there.
It is, and it's for some reason it's part of the experience, and it's not, with the exception of a very long day where you finally want to get someplace. It's really not that upsetting. In a small way, it's a little bit fun.
Right.
We broke down. We're pulling over. We've got a break of riding, and we get together and we fix what's wrong. Sometimes it's really, really minor. And sometimes, rare occasions does somebody go home on a flat.
Well, we had our buddy come over and help us try to get things, so we could get the bike running. And he was saying something very similar. It's almost like it's a bonding thing. And then it's like you fix it and you're like, yeah, we did it. And we're back on the road.
Yeah.
Like, I did it.
Yeah.
How much oil do you have to carry?
A lot. We all carry oil. Yeah. I mean, you've only had yours a week out there, and you've already got cardboard. There. And, it's leaking all over the place. I remember, a very small breakdown that was fun. We were going to Virginia City. There's a big chopper event up there. It's August. I think it's around the weekend of maybe the 23rd, 25th. Put on by Choppers Magazine, and it's called the Virginia City Roundup. And we were on our way there. It's one of the best rides ever, up the 395. And we were, I think you go up a hill out of Lee Vining or something, and then you go down the hill, and I don't know what it was, but Josh Brolin rides with us.
Yeah.
And I just see something bouncing by us, and I'm like, oh boy, what the heck was that? And you never know. So I tell Josh we got to pull over, and it was just his air cover. But we got that back on the bike and continued that like amazing ride up to Virginia City. And I'm changing directions. It's a good story. We get up to Virginia City and we stay in it's a mansion up there. Have you guys been to Virginia City?
Yeah.
It's an old mining town.
Yep.
So I had rented for the 6 of us. I had rented out it's called the Cobb Mansion, and it's supposed to be like a haunted mansion or something like that. And I know that in advance because I've been on YouTube, and I wanted to show my wife where we were staying when we were up there. And all the shows that came up, it was like the most haunted place in America,
Wow.
So I start thinking about this. I go, I'm gonna get Brolin real good, you know what I mean? So I get a little Bluetooth speaker, and Brolin doesn't drink anymore. He's been sober for a while, and so if anybody starts maybe slurring his words or something like that, Brolin bails because I don't want to be around drunk people, So he goes back, does some writing or some reading or something like that. So we're all getting wasted at the bar. We come back to the mansion, sit outside for a little while. Once everybody goes to sleep, I take that Bluetooth speaker and I go on YouTube and I find this scary little girl, and she's going, "Play with me. Play with me. I want to play with you." Super creepy though. Like I couldn't even do it as creepy as, although I probably sounded pretty creepy. Right?
That was like an 8.
Yeah. So I've got the Bluetooth speaker. I've got this little girl, scary girl, talking, and I'm creaking up the steps. He's on the second floor, and you can hear every footstep. Creak, and this little girl, "Oh, won't somebody play with me?" And I get right by Brolin's door, and I'm holding the speaker there, and he's not coming out. He's not saying anything. There's no life. I go, he's got to be able to hear this. He's got a gap in the door. I'm putting it by the gap of the door. It's still nothing. So I walk down the hall, and Brian Bowen Smith's room's down there, right? Well, Brian immediately, I hear him. He's in there. "Oh my God, what the fuck is that?" And you can hear he's turned on his phone, and he's recording what he probably thinks is his death, right? He's like, "I have no idea what this is. You're not going to believe this. Oh my God. And he goes in the bathroom. He says, "I'm in the bathroom. I don't know what that is." And finally, he makes his way over to the door, and he opens the door, and he just sees me with my dumb face smiling. And he slams the door, "Fuck you." And so I walk back down to Brolin's room, and still nothing. I'm out there for a few minutes. Now I've got it too loud, and it's ridiculous. And I go, what he's doing in there. So I go back downstairs in my room, but I wake up the next morning, and I go up to Josh's room, and he's laying in the bed, and he sees me walk in the room, and he looks at me, and he goes, "You got me." I go, "I got you." I go, "Why didn't you do anything?" He goes, "Man," he goes, "when I heard you coming up the stairs," he goes, "I did one of these. What the hell is that?" And then he goes, "Then I heard you walk down to Brian's," and then I go, "Oh, it's Rooster."
Right.
And he came back over, and he goes, "I was just laughing too hard to do anything." So
That's funny. I mean, we stayed in the Jerome old,
love Jerome, yeah.
and it was supposed to be really haunted and stuff. I never heard anything.
But I love the story because it's the shit that you do on trips with, and the fun that you have, and the memories that you create. And I think that's pretty cool. We'll have to tease him next time we see him.
Oh yeah. And I watched you guys, and I always think like my bond with like my guys that I ride with is extraordinarily special, and I watched your guys' video. I binge watched a bunch of them before I came in here, and I see you guys, you have the same fun that we have, There's something about riding motorcycles and with your buddies, and you'll do anything for them, and it's just always a good time. We just rode to Bisbee, and the Friday when we left Phoenix down to Bisbee, it's like a 200-mile ride, and it was raining all day long. And in Arizona, there's no place to get out of the rain, so there's no overpasses or anything, and you just want to hit the next gas station for a little bit of break from the rain. And we did that. We got to Bisbee, had a really, really good time. That was a great show. It's called The Prowl. And that was just this weekend before last. Oh, there was a bar there.
St. Elmo's.
Oh, that's a good place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great little
But
place.
wait, do you guys carry rain gear or do you just get wet?
On the chopper, you're kind of packing light, you know. You bring a change of t-shirt.
There you go.
You know, yeah, it's pack light for sure.
Well, for us, we've known each other for 40 years.
Oh yeah.
And
Okay.
when we started this, we just used to travel together, and we wouldn't see each other every day. It was maybe once a week thing or something. And then, as we started this, it's like we try to be as well, we're as genuine as we can be. And I don't think we've changed a lot over the years. I think the challenge becomes, if this starts impeding friendship, then that's not good. And we have tussles, but at the end of the day, we're still really good friends. And
Yeah.
It's like, and we have to have that. And sometimes adding another group of guys, like when we take the young guns, it breaks up what we do a little bit. And there's another fun, people always ask, is this too much for you guys? Like, you're filming everything, you're right. Like, no, it's been really incredible. We're basically in a company that's helping us grow, but we're somewhat retired, and we're traveling that retirement dream in a sense all over the country. Went into Canada last year. I mean, it's been a blessing to actually have started this.
Yeah.
When you look back.
We meet a guy when we first start the channel. We came out of Death Valley. We were in Beatty and Death Valley, and we're doing like iPhone footage. And we're like, how are we going to edit this stuff?
Yeah.
So we meet Josh through a friend, and he's 24 at the time.
Maybe 23, 22.
23.
Yeah, something like that.
So young, comes limping in our office from a broken ankle from a dirt bike, but he edits and films. So he takes some of our footage and he makes us a video, and we're like, wow, we have a video now. Then we do a couple trips, hand over the footage, and we're like, hey, why don't you go on a trip with us? He had an FXR. He had a Yamaha first. We wrecked him in Virginia City up in cold
Yeah,
snow.
that was
over the
a
path.
fun one.
So he ended
Kit
up getting a
Carson
Harley.
pass.
Then he got a bagger, but he films on the bike. Do you know Josh Kerpius?
Yes.
So he films while he's riding on the bike. We all filmed
Allegedly.
on the bikes, but
Allegedly.
yeah,
Allegedly.
100 miles an hour, he'll be filming.
Yeah.
He wants to catch a shot. So now he's with us. He knows us. He edits us. He's full time in here. So our production value and what we do as a team, he knows.
And I think we gave him his first cigar. So what do you have over there?
Oh, so I brought you guys some cigars. They're tatuajes. Tatuaje means tattoo in Spanish, I guess. But they're all the
I'm gonna do
same
the short story.
blend. They're just different shapes.
What do you want?
I'm going to do this guy right here.
Oh, what the hell?
There you go. I'm gonna grab the medium one here.
Josh, what do you got going?
I think I'm going to smoke this little mini me that your dad gave me.
All right.
What?
I don't know. It's a little sample pack.
Something like, what the hell you got going on?
Yeah. So, hey,
Uh-huh.
Well, we appreciate you bringing the cigars.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to do cigar reviews on YouTube, and I interviewed some growers and learned a lot about cigars. And these tatuajes, I just can't find anything better, with the exception of like a Monte Cristo No. 2, a Cuban.
Yeah.
But they've gotten so expensive, like you can't afford to smoke them. A Monte Cristo No. 2 is like $45 right now.
yeah.
I used to order them from Switzerland, is where I get them, but yeah, they're too expensive.
I get Don Filos 25 bundle for like $35.
Oh, okay.
Do you
Yeah.
like the party ghost
Yeah.
at all?
So this is the first. Our show is expanding and growing all the time. I mean, there's always been drinking, there's been fun, this and that, but now we're going to have a cigar.
But here's part of the problem.
Yeah.
If we have to cut the show early, it's because the sprinklers went off.
I don't think they will, but hey,
Yeah. So this is the Nicaraguan Puro, which means the wrapper,
Sure.
binder, and filler are all from Nicaragua.
Okay.
And these are great little smokes, man. They're not
I can
too-
tell you I like it already. Now,
Yeah.
now I had a guy come in here, a cigar guy, and he brought us these cigars, and he had the special ones, the Cuban stuff, and Cubans kick my butt.
Oh, do
I
they?
get like dizzy. I don't like them. I like them mellow. And this right now, this is like if
They're
you get a
pretty
little bit
smooth.
of bite, no,
Yeah.
but this is like smooth.
Yeah,
Right,
they're pretty
even right
smooth.
now.
They get a little spicy towards the end, but they're still like my go-to all the time. But, let's see. Oh, we were talking about Bisbee. I was going to tell you. Have you guys been to the bar? It's called Chuckleheads. Mm-mm. It's right across from St. Elmo's
haven't?
Fire.
I don't think so.
We've been in a couple on the street right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right in there. You might have been in there, but
Oh, is it down from St. Elmo's
no,
a
it's
little bit?
like
Right
directly across the.
We've been there. We went St. Elmo's across and over to
Yeah.
the other one. I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, and we had the best time in there. It just seemed like we were all looking for each other, and then we all kind of met up, and we were sitting right at that bar together, and the owner had come in a few minutes later, and he's also the bartender there, and he is an amazing magician.
Really?
Yeah, this guy was pulling tricks out. I mean, I could not believe the stuff he was doing.
Magic Castle guy?
It was like that, My wife loves the Magic Castles.
Yeah.
Have we been there?
Not together, I don't.
It's a fun place. But this guy had a dollar bill, and he put it on his nose. I mean, it was a regular dollar bill. He showed us a regular dollar bill. He put it on his nose, and he was balancing the dollar bill while he's pouring cocktails. And I'm like, I couldn't figure that out, And he was the best card shuffler I'd ever seen. He was throwing cards up in the air and catching them back in the deck. It's like the guy was incredible. So he does this trick, and he's got a couple dice, and he's showing us the regular crap dice, like the red clear ones. He's showing us the regular dice, and then he fuses them together somehow in front of us, and then he passes them to me, and he says, try to pull them apart, and I'm pulling them apart, and I can't pull them apart, right? But I palmed them, and then he says, okay, now give it back to me, and I stick my hand out, and he reaches for him. I go like this, but the dice aren't in there, and his mouth drops open like he'd never seen a magic trick before.
Right.
And all my guys sitting around the bar, they look at him and go, "How did you do that?" Like he pulled a trick.
You're like,
But Bisbee was a great town, man.
It's a cool.
we've been there so many times, and the first time we went to Bisbee, we went to Tucson Harley. We stopped there. And we're like, oh, the guys are like, where are you guys going? And we're like, we're going to go down to Tombstone. And they're like, you got to go to Bisbee.
Yeah.
Like once you're done with Tombstone, go to Bisbee.
Yeah.
And we stayed there. Every time we've stayed, when we go down, we stay in the town.
And the
then
first time
park the bikes, and we can just walk all over.
The first time we got there, came over the knoll and we saw the town. And it was just like, it was pretty mind blowing. But
Here comes the water.
we usually like to do what he says. Like we like to go to places in a town where we can park the bikes and walk wherever we want. That's
yeah. And Tombstone, it's small, it's Bisbee is impressive,
Tombstone's like a must see.
Yeah.
Check it out, have fun, have lunch there,
Yeah,
do whatever,
exactly.
and then head over to Bisbee. And,
Yeah. Stay there.
Yeah.
Stay there. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I love those little mining towns, like you mentioned, Jerome, that's great. Virginia City is amazing. Bisbee is obviously great.
You'll have to get up, if you're down that direction again, a nice day rides up to Mount Lemon.
Have you ever been up Mount Lemon?
And
I haven't.
it's grade, so you guys will be working it a little bit, but the topography changes that you get all the way up to the top. It's
Pine trees.
Spectacular ride.
Isn't it the southernmost ski
highest ski
mountain
resort.
in
Oh,
the-
is that right?
Yeah.
And
It
then
snows
US,
hard
yeah.
up there, and yeah.
They got a little town in there. They serve fresh fudge, and it's in this little general store. It's just a cool,
Very small though. It's not
little
even as
vibey.
big as Wrightwood.
Oh, okay.
It's teeny.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the mountains, it's beautiful. And you see Tucson. It's
Yeah. I haven't been down there before. I love riding through the mountains though. Some of the best trips like Sturgis, through, we were talking earlier about $1 Million Highway and, some of those runs. We were on our way to Sturgis one year. This is the craziest thing that ever happened to me on a motorcycle trip. there was 9 of us, and we're going through Grand Teton National Park. And I was
choppers.
I wish.
No?
I wish. Nope. We were on
your
we
bagger.
were on the bagger.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, we needed to put on the miles, and it's on the. One thing about the choppers, we have to stop every hour. People say, "How many miles per gallon do you get?" We go, 1 hour.
Right.
We don't have gauges.
Right.
We stop. We're looking for gas every hour. That's basically it. We do carry some bottles with us, But anyways, on this trip we're on baggers, and we're riding through Grand Teton National Park. I'm leading the 9 of us, and just out of the corner of my eye, I go, "Was that a grizzly bear?" And I look in my mirror, and the second guy is going way into the other lane, and this grizzly comes out, charges the second guy on the bike, takes a swipe at him, and turns around and goes back in the bushes, and we stop, and we're like,
Stop.
The rest of us,
Get
the rest, half the group stopped behind us, half the group stopped in
Right.
front, and we see this mama grizzly bear cross the road. She stands up, and then 3 little baby grizzly cubs, walk across the street. But I'm going to tell you, man, she got pretty close to my buddy Tommy.
And she could have taken him down.
Most people don't realize bear and moose and elk, they don't really want to deal with you.
Yeah.
No.
But especially if they have their, whether it's a cub or whether it's a calf or what have you, that animal's very aggressive at that point.
Yeah.
Because if you're threatening their cub or they're going to come at you. And you see all these tourists in Yellowstone going up to take pictures of bison or get up to next to an elk, and they get gored, and it's like, just.
I'm always rooting for the animal in those cases. The woman wants to take a picture of the elk from 5 feet away.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when we were in, do you remember that video that went viral of the woman who her belt loop got hooked on the horn of a bison, and she was spinning her around, and she went flying off. We were in that exact spot the day before that happened. And I saw the ranger in that video. He had a bullwhip, and we were talking to that guy, and he was just commenting on, how stupid people are to walk up to these wild animals. None of them are.
And they're huge.
They're gigantic.
We stood, not next to it, but we were on the street in Yellowstone, and one was up against this building, and he was just kind of moving around grazing. And we were like, they even had a sheriff car sitting there watching. But the size of it, I mean, if it was in this room, we wouldn't fit as,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they are huge. And I remember that herd, we saw a herd of bison in Yellowstone, and I said, well, those are much bigger than the ones in South Dakota in Custer. And we had gone into a ranger station. We were talking to him and said, well, your bison are much smaller than the bison in Yellowstone. He goes, oh no. He goes, we've got the big ones. You were looking at the runts. They force them out. And the big ones, he goes, the big ones are down the road. They're much bigger than anything they've got in Yellowstone. He said one of them's like 8 foot high at the withers.
Yeah. That's like that one we saw. It was like huge.
Yeah.
Going back to Tucson real quick. You're a musician.
Right. Yeah.
Do you know the story of Paul McCartney of being in Tucson?
No.
So in the song, Jojo was a man, thought he was Jojo left his home in Tucson, Arizona for some California grass.
Okay.
Well, Paul McCartney had a ranch in Tucson. So when you're going down the 10, you'll see McCartney Boulevard.
Yeah.
That's for him. It's a little fun fact.
I think Linda.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've just heard Lance Corey history lesson number 4 on Paul McCartney's White Album.
I think didn't Linda McCartney, didn't she pass away in Tucson?
Maybe because they lived there for a while.
Yeah, I think that's.
So anyway, next time you're on the 10 going down to Bisbee, you'll see Paul McCartney or McCartney Avenue.
Jen told me that, and you said this a little bit earlier, but like if there's a band, you will definitely get up and sing. Were you a singer or were you the lead? Were you a?
Yeah, I sang a little bit when I was younger. That's how I met my wife. She was I'm gonna say she's gonna kill me. She was stalking me for a while. I was,
Of course. I mean, who wouldn't?
yeah, right. Yeah.
I
Didn't your
and
wife
it's,
stalk
and
you?
it's crazy because
She did kind of, right? No.
my wife still to this day looks like a supermodel. I mean, she is freaking gorgeous, you know. And I mean, I was better looking when I was younger, obviously. Look at me now. I'm old and fat. My wife is still the same. She looks like, you know, the day I met her. And she just walked up to me in front of the Roxy, and I was there doing a sound check. Says, "I love you and I'm going to marry you." And I said, "Oh, get away from me, you crazy girl," you know. And you know, here we are all these years later.
What's her name?
Suzanne.
Suzanne. Good for you.
We call her the Suze.
The Suze?
Yeah, it's the Suze.
All right.
So how many years?
30.
30.
Yeah.
All right. I'm
Yeah.
31.
40.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of Jen, she said she was actually tuning in, about to jump in and dive with great white sharks or something. They must be out there traveling.
Oh
I
yeah.
thought she was going to
Yeah.
come in here.
I don't know. Maybe it was another Gen G.
No, I know what she's talking about. I'm a scuba diver, and I got a
Gotcha.
great white shark fetish. So I've gone on some great white shark expeditions.
Why?
And
So I mean, but this
I
is
don't know,
kind of
Like
blowing
in
my
a
mind.
cage?
well, where I dove with them is a national park, and they've got a lot of rules and regulations, so they require you to be in a shark cage.
Okay.
But after spending so much time with them in the water, you kind of know which ones you could get out and, you know, swim with, and which ones you can't. I've swam with bull sharks and tiger
I don't
sharks.
think I'll swim
How
with
do you
any.
know which ones you can swim with?
You know, they just aren't aggressive. You know, they
Gotcha.
just they're as interested
little
in
docile.
you. Yeah, just, you know.
So
There
I
are
don't-
sharks I would not get in the water with. And then of course the bull sharks are the most aggressive. And those dives, you basically just go straight to the bottom, lay down in an area where, you know, that like a shipwreck where they frequent, and you lay there and they swim over you. It's always nervous going up and waiting for the boat with the bull sharks, because, you know, that's usually when they attack you, is on the surface.
I mean, so you're a musician, you ride choppers, and now we know you swim with sharks.
yeah, basically my wife gave me this patch, says
Yeah, it's
more balls and brains.
So
Yeah.
did you see the movie about what was the battleship in World War II that got torpedoed? They were on the mission taking the atomic bomb, and it was secret. No one knew they were out there.
Yeah.
And they got torpedoed, and they were all in the water, and it was like the biggest shark feast.
It was.
What was
Yeah.
that movie? Come on. I mean, it's a true story, but
Yeah.
I have on my dad's side, he had a cousin of his that was in the war, and they got torpedoed, and they all the guys were in a ring.
yeah.
And all of a sudden, guy next to him does this. All the legs were bitten off, and he just let out right there. Like,
Sounds like he was on the ship that got
his name was Duffy.
I think 800 people got eaten.
Just incredible that he survived it.
Wow. No, that's gnarly.
Yeah.
I mean, I swim with sharks a lot too. Look at this shark
Wow.
every day.
Now, my friend used to go fishing, Jeff McPhee, used to go fishing out in Marina Del Rey, and he used to be in a 12-foot aluminum Balco.
Yeah.
And he used to catch thresher sharks.
Yeah.
And he had us a picture of the head in the water, the body in the bow, and then the tail. And
They have super long tails.
he used to they'd pull him around the bay until he got tired. And
We tail hooked one
Oh yeah.
because we were running off, and they slapped their bait to stun it and then come back up and eat it. Well, he slapped, and we tail hooked him.
Oh wow.
And so he was on the move. It took us almost 2 hours to get 210-pound thresher shark. It was crazy. And I don't know how we kept him on.
I'll
that long.
stick to my road glide. It's got a shark nose.
Oh,
Yeah,
boom,
that's
boom.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
So
Yeah, speaking of bikes, I know that a lot of people tune in to talk about bikes, and I'm working on a 1948 Panhead right now. I'm working on it out at Comanche Cycles with my buddy Vince out there.
Vince,
Vince is a good guy and a chopper guru. So
You need to know chopper gurus, right?
yeah, you do. And Vince, I'm one of his favorite lines is "I speak chopper," you know.
So how
And
do
he
we get like three guys like us to do a 2LaneLIVE video and go somewhere, but we are on choppers, but we need to be with guys like you too.
Well, you're welcome to ride with us anytime.
I mean, can we get short fork stuff?
We have enough bikes that we could probably put you on something.
What a trippy video that would be.
Yeah. If you guys are
I don't know
willing
if you
Well, we could go like maybe to
like
Rock
Ojai
Fort.
and that.
No, but let's go to Death Valley.
That'd be
Beatty.
cool.
Have you been
190
to
to-
Beatty?
I haven't. No.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You go through
right?
Death Valley and go
Yeah.
to Beatty and go to Rhyolite Ghost Town. And,
Yeah, all of my
But anyway-
buddies have they've all done the Death Valley run and all that. We go out that way. We spend a lot of time up in Kernville. That's a
Yeah.
great run for
We've
us.
been there a bunch. I used to be a river guide there.
But
So
let's get back to your bike build.
yeah.
Oh
So-
yeah,
so-
I've got a 1948 panhead that I'm doing, and most everybody I think has seen my Rooster tank. That was painted by a guy named Gaetano Sol in Italy, and I found that tank on Facebook, and it really I didn't want to build a bike that looked like that. You know, I wanted to do. I'm a black bike guy. You know, I was just going to do a black chopper, put some flames on the tank, and you know hit the road. But when I saw that tank, I don't know, it just like I had to have it.
Right.
So I bought it. And I took it into Vince's shop and I said, "Hey man, let's build a chopper." And he looked at it and he goes, "Yeah, let's build a chopper." And so the two of us just you know put our heads together and you know came up with that bike that's now the Rooster. But you know I got a blue frame that was really stepping out of the
Really?
you know
Your
comfort zone. And now with this new bike, the same painter, it's my wife hates the tank. It's basically a Frankenstein having sex with the bride of Frankenstein on the operating table in the laboratory. And
Well, that's an interesting.
yeah, and Dr.
Tank.
Frankenstein screaming for him to get off of her, basically.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't want to do an all green bike. So I chromed the frame and we just put some green highlights here and there. One of the other things that I did that was pretty cool is I saw this welder. Her name's Rhea the Welder on Instagram. She does incredible sissy bars. So Vince and I made a sissy bar. We shipped it up to Canada, and it's Frankenstein's face, real in great detail. And then I sent her the housing for the tail light, which is going to be in his mouth, and it looks spectacular. So
When do you think that's done?
well, I've been working on it for 2 years.
Yeah.
there she is on screen now.
On the
yeah,
space
I've
down
been
link
working
right
on-
here.
I've been working on it for 2 years, and we were just about to wrap it up, and then I decided I need to powder coat this and that, so we stripped it apart again. And I think it'll be rolling in the next 30 days.
Okay.
I think
Wow.
it'll definitely be at Born Free. It'll definitely be at Brian Bowen Smith. I think I told you guys we put on that chopper show at Pappy and Harriet's, and that'll be in September.
So this will be the second annual.
This is the second annual Pappy and Harriet's Chopper Party. And it is, we have chopper parking only, but there is a whole nother section where, all bikes are welcome. The main area is choppers only. But everybody's welcome.
Yeah.
And, you were talking about Paul McCartney, that's how Pappy and Harriet's got really, really famous.
Really?
There was a desert trip where Paul McCartney, the Rolling Stones, Neil Young, The Who, Roger Waters, and Bob Dylan played out in the desert. And Paul McCartney called up Pappy and Harriet's and said, "Hey, I'd like to play a show there."
Wow.
And
That's crazy.
they announced it, and all of a sudden, Pappy and Harriet's is now on the map for the place that Paul McCartney showed up and played. And since then, every
yeah,
big
when we were
act
there,
is-
there was a band playing that night, and
they get
8
lots of great
o'clock it
acts
was
there.
like we got to get dinner kind of going, and then there's a band, and so
yeah,
pretty cool. And there's not a lot out there.
No.
Yeah.
It's just that. like you're there. So if anyone wants to see this, I'm sure Josh has the links in the bottom of this stuff here where you can find out and check out Rooster, look at his bike and look at his stuff and his Instagram.
But we're dropping Pioneer Town next week.
We had
Yeah, I
fun
think
out
this coming Wednesday is Pioneer 1. So we end up in Pioneer Town. We eat at Pappy and Harriet's. We go to the Red Dog Saloon.
Awesome.
Some shenanigans at the Red Cabin. It's a good time.
Yeah, I'd like to say hi to Lisa and JB at Pappy and Harriet's. The dates aren't confirmed for the chopper party, but I do believe it's late September. We're a little bit different than some of the shows. We're going to have a national act or possibly 2 national acts are going to play our chopper party to just make it really, really
We might need to
interesting.
book the cabin right now.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, last year was a blast, and everybody was just hitting us up. Are you guys going to do it again? So we are definitely going to do it.
So
again.
they just pay attention to your Instagram.
Yeah, just yeah.
And what's your Instagram?
Rooster
again?
the Chopper.
Rooster the Chopper.
So we go to this cabin. We're really stoked. It's this little cabin right on the road. We walk into it. There's 2 bedrooms and a couch. The bed fills up the whole room. He's in a room. I go in this room, and I'm looking at the bed, and I'm like, wow, this bed's kind of cool. And I pull the
There's
blankets
some
back.
incense and different things, earth, kind of that vibey desert feel.
So I pull the bed back, and I'm like, what the heck? There's a rock about this big,
Crystal
right in the center of the bed. And I'm like, wow, that's cool. It must be some holistic thing or something.
Hippie shit going on out there.
So
Right?
hey, you guys, look at this rock. It's in my bed, man. And they're just like, yeah, cool. Wow. They get the vibe, whatever. And then the next morning, I'm like, can you believe that rock? And he's like, I put the rock in.
Yeah.
I didn't remember it. And then I'm looking over the footage yesterday, and I see Galen just cracking up. Oh, you with the rug in the bed.
Hey, so you guys pay attention to this video
That's how I sounded.
because
I had a bunch of beer.
the first video,
you said it.
That's how,
the first video, I don't know if this scene will be in it, but there's a scene. It's either in 1 or 2, video number 1 or 2.
Uh-huh.
And Galen and I do a really cool skit, but we're not going to tell you what it is because you got to watch the video.
That's in 2.
That's in 2. Aha.
I look forward to it. I love Pioneer Town. I don't know. It's a great ride out there. I don't like going down the 10. Up the 10. There's the back way. You got to go the back way.
We left and went out the back way.
Oh, yeah.
We ended up in Calico Ghost Town. And,
Wow, you went way out the
we
back
went
way.
way out the back way.
Oh, that's great.
But the funny thing is the month before, we were all there filming the Harley's launch on the new bikes. We went to a bar in what town was
That was in 29 Palms.
29 Palms, but we ended up in the back right behind Pioneer Town doing some shoots on the new bikes,
Okay.
giving them our opinion,
There's a famous bar in 29 Palms.
It's pink right now.
Pink. It's painted pink, but I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
But we did a whole shoot there.
I got the
The
coaster
last
on my
stop.
desk. Last something.
I don't know.
I'll have to put that one on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a
out
cool
there.
spot.
Out there
Out
bar.
there.
I think it's out there.
The Out There Bar.
And he
Right.
was saying, the owner, that like 80% of the time, at least this time of year, they book it out just for film shoots. So
Mhm.
they had one that day. We were there for 2 days or something.
Yep.
So
Good to know.
So you told us earlier you were a cowboy.
Right.
So I guess that kind of transfers over because you've got kind of this leather saddle, and I saw your leather saddle out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think's more comfortable?
Well, I don't know, but I'm going to say this. We're learning that this guy's a badass.
I don't know about that. I'm getting old. I think I don't know. I'm still trying to, be as tough as I once was and have as much fun, but it's getting harder and harder to do. You know what I mean?
Well, aren't we all getting old?
Yeah, I guess.
No,
But
we're reversed.
hey, I'm 57 years old. I still ride rigid choppers longer, and
You guys are 57.
than most guys ride their baggers. I got to tell you, I know a lot of guys. Their bikes are in their garage most
100%.
weekends. My bike is never in my garage on the weekend. I ride every single weekend, and we try to do something epic. We got home from Bisbee, and everybody's on we have a little group thread. We're like, where are we going next?
Right.
Because you can't wait to go. And some of these things, some of these trips are just so freaking epic. I don't know why, but
You're passionate about it. That's why.
Yeah,
You can't stop.
June, the June Lake Loop always comes to mind, and I'm looking forward to that. This summer.
Such a beautiful run.
We have a
through there.
saying:
Yeah.
"Don't stop, won't stop."
Yeah,
Have you gone into Bodie? You wouldn't ride those into Bodie, but have you been into Bodie?
Yeah, they
Those-
would.
I probably would. Yeah,
On
I
that
think
dirt road?
They do.
yeah, we ride on dirt roads. We go camping out on dirt roads.
They're
and
like
stuff
you.
that.
They see dirt, they go for it.
Dude, there's some videos of Todd Bluebach just
yeah.
ripping
Well,
in,
you should-
in the dirt.
if
know?
you-
Yeah,
If you haven't been to Bodie,
Todd lives in the dirt.
Yeah,
so,
he lives out in the dirt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go.
But you should go to check out Bodie while you're up there.
Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
I mean, I remember I've been there. I
Oh,
just haven't been
gotcha.
there on choppers, but I remember passing it on the way home from Virginia City
Yeah.
last year, thinking we should make the turn. And I think we had some other destination in mind. It's always like that. You ride past something. Okay, I got to do that next time. Just like my rule is never miss a national park.
Yeah.
If you're passing something that says national park 10 miles this way,
Go.
go 10 miles, because I've never been to a bad national park. They're all beautiful. And on the way home from
That's why we carry these.
exactly. Yeah. Get your national park pass.
You and I don't qualify for the senior discount.
See,
though.
I got y'all
His
beat.
is like $8.
Yeah, and it's good for life, right?
Not
No,
this
it's
one.
annual.
Oh,
It's annual, yeah.
there is one that I think
Yeah.
is like once you get over a certain age.
I got you beat though. I'm 64.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, one of our guys. Let's see. We've got a guy that rides with us that is, I'm going to say 70. I think he's 74.
let's
You're
pretend it's
74.
Brian.
Yeah. Hey, Brian, what's up, buddy? But we were
Good night,
coming
Paul.
up from Bisbee, and I saw that. What is it? Sequoia National Park?
Yeah.
Is that what it's
Yeah.
called? Sequoia
I don't know.
National
If
Park.
it's Saguaro. Yeah.
It's
the giant-
It's the cactus, right?
Yeah.
The big cactus.
Yeah.
So I that was definitely on the list, and we'll have to hit that one up because I really
Was that off the 93, 96,
it was
97?
off the 10. It was on its
Oh,
way on our way to Tucson.
Oh, okay. Down
Um,
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you get into Kingman and you take Kingman down over to Wickenburg and through that area up to like Prescott,
Yeah.
there's cactus that are 30, 40 feet tall. Just
Yeah.
these big, beautiful. They're like 100 years
Prescott's
old.
a fun little town.
Yeah, Sedona. I love Sedona, and
Yeah.
then the ride up to Flagstaff is absolutely.
Have you been to
incredible.
Williams?
I haven't.
That's
Ooh.
our little fun little.
That's a good one.
It's the
Oh, really?
longest.
Yeah.
It's the longest stretch. It's not real long, but it's a mile maybe of Route 66 with the original buildings.
It's got the evening time is the best time
It's
because
so
it's just
awesome.
neon lit up. It's got that nostalgia still.
It's the gateway to the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
You take that 64 up to it, so it's
Hmm.
my favorite place.
Might
I
have
love
passed
going
through it or
I
passed.
may have passed through there because I have been to the Grand Canyon a few times.
Yeah.
And I may have passed through it, but yeah, no, I love that whole area. Arizona's, every time you go, you forget how beautiful it is.
there. How about 666, the Devil's Highway, 191?
Morenci.
It's Alpine Mountains. So if this is the border of New Mexico and the border of eastern Arizona, so if you came off the 40, you get to Holbrook and you go down. Amazing mountain range. You can go down to Bisbee
Morenci.
from there, and
Roads are pretty nice too.
Yeah. Have you guys ridden down in Mexico much?
None.
You need to do that.
I know.
And there's some neat places down there. Every other year they do the El Diablo run,
Yep.
and everybody rides. You ride out to Temecula, and then from Temecula, we go. I think it's a little bit of a back way, 300 miles down to San Felipe. It's a wild party down there, and then you ride across Baja to Ensenada, and then back up from there.
Dan was talking about that.
do you know Dan? Danger
Danger
Dan?
Dan.
Danger Dan, I do know him. Yeah.
Love that guy.
He
Yeah.
was on the show a little while. We met him at a ride that we did with Yokin and just fell in love with his personality. Just a
Yeah,
bigger than life guy.
he's the announcer for the Virginia City Roundup. He sits in there with a kind of a veteran rodeo announcer, and then you've got Dan, who's an interesting character and
Yeah.
has no filter.
Oh,
know
really?
what I mean?
Well, you want to hear a filter story?
Yeah, sure.
So Dan, myself, and Jochen Zeitz, the CEO of Harley, are walking across this little thing. We all were on a ride. And for some reason, we three ended up walking to this bridge and back. And we're all together. We're this close. And all of a sudden, Dan lets out this big burp.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, and your last name?" And he ripped a big fart. And I'm going, this is freaking hilarious, man. It cracked me up. Anyway, that's I love Dan.
But he was talking.
Yeah, I
about
haven't
the
got
El
to hang with
Diablo.
him very much, but
Yeah,
you know, I know him in passing and all.
Didn't he say he wanted to get us down there?
he
He wants to do
But
the
I don't know
peyote
if
run.
He you'll have to go look at that live because he has a couple stories that you'd probably like.
In
They
Mexico.
were on some peyote and some stuff like that.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, yeah. No, man.
But yeah, so I think it's kind of interesting to see the different groups of people. Like we go to the Chopper Fest just because we love motorcycles,
Right.
And we love the art of choppers.
Yeah,
But to see the different, groups of people and all the bikes that are there or born free or it's kind of cool. And it's a smaller circle sometimes.
it is
in
a
the chopper
smaller
side.
circle, and that's kind of like you can mention pretty much any name in like the chopper community, and you've heard it, or you know them, or you've had great times with them.
Yeah.
But the chopper community is very small, and it's there's also different generations of guys. There's guys that are old legends, and Micah McCloskey comes to mind. He had a shop not far from you
McCloskey's?
here, yeah.
Ah,
And Mike is a great builder, and so Vince has a couple of Micah's bikes in his shop over there right now, and that's one of the reasons that I changed some stuff on my bike. I was looking at some stuff he went, and I go, I'm totally stealing that, and so I ripped some stuff apart just to be able to take it back to the powder coater and add some color where I wanted and add some more chrome. And Mike is great. If I have a question and one of my buddies don't know the answer, which is almost hard to believe, I'll call Micah. Always answers the phone. Always willing to help you out. And that's great to have that kind of knowledge and experience, available to you. But I get to ride with Russell Mitchell from Exile Cycles, who is absolutely one of my very best friends. He is very knowledgeable. Caleb from Crow Customs is a very good friend of mine. I made some bars, and it was a crappy version of some bars, and I said, "Hey, can you make these better?" And so I just picked them up from his house, this week for the bike with a Frankenstein on it. It's called the Monster. This bike's called the Rooster. Bike's called the Monster. So Caleb made those for me. Gilby made my shift lover. My friend Christopher Pearson made made an adapter for my shift knob, which I found online, and I bought 6 green crystal knobs from some mansion in England and had them shipped over. My buddy Stephen Moda rebuilt that 1948 panhead for me. He did the motor. And this bike, the frame, the motor, and the transmission are all the original bike.
that's amazing.
Yeah, and it was a Survivor. We call it a Survivor. I pulled in on my old bike at the rock store, and there's an old timer over there. He says, I got a panhead in my garage. I got to sell it. You interested? I'm like, heck yeah. What year? He told me 48. That's the first year they made panheads.
Really?
And this bike hadn't been on the road since 1981.
Wow.
Russell and I went over and took a look at it and ended up picking it up, got a sweet deal on it. Now, it's going to be back on the road. We found a magazine that had that bike. That had that bike as the centerfold. and it was in Balboa Park.
No way.
So I want to take my bike and see if I can find
Kind of that same
the
area.
same background, and then do a shoot with my bike, and put it together with the old original.
So when you get a bike like that, do you instantly just go take it apart and make sure everything's cool in it, or?
Yeah, I mean, we call them donor bikes.
Uh-huh.
Really, you want to find a nice donor bike, and it is best to completely, take it apart and use plenty of Loctite when putting it back together. Which I'm sure you'll find out with your sporty out there. It'll have to be gone through. It'll have to be tightened up. I mean, they're old bikes,
Right.
I
I think that was a rider, though. I think the guy rode it all the time.
Up until about 5 years ago, sounds like.
Yeah, the comments we got from the family where they were excited to hear the bike running again, to see it on the road, to see it getting some love.
Yeah. It looks
and
like it
enjoying
probably was a daily rider.
Yeah.
Somebody took care of that bike.
Yeah.
It's in good shape,
Yeah, garaged, and so we're the benefactors, and it's
Yeah.
kind of funny.
Lucky
Like
you.
I said when we started the show, on Sunday we know we're getting a chopper, and lo and behold, one of the chopper gods is in our studio on Thursday. Like,
My son
far
got
from God.
a 56 panhead. I mean, he has from FXRs, Dynas, DXs, all the way up to the new bikes.
Yeah.
But he had a 56 panhead. He finally sold it. He probably wishes he had it now, but it was a cool bike. It was a shift,
Suicide Shift. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of these bikes have great stories. My buddy Christopher's bike, it was his dad's bike. He's got a 55 panhead, and it's beautiful. There's shiny bikes, and then there's old bikes, kind of, the rat rod kind of look to them. And I love both of them. And Christopher's bike, what's a better story than this was my dad's bike?
Right.
It's a 1955 panhead, and he's redone it, the motor a couple times, and he rides the heck out of it, but they all come with great stories. And
yeah. Dom, our buddy Dom, who helped us get this thing running, his dad has a pan or shovel. I don't know what it is, but
the panhead.
Dom's got a picture of him as a 4-year-old sitting on it.
oh
Now he still has the bike,
yeah,
and he has another chopper.
I love that.
And he's got
and
the same picture of his son Dom with the same bike.
Yes.
So it's like
Even
a
better.
recreation.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Regeneration.
And he lives in Simi.
Yeah.
So he's kind of in the shot. You've probably met him and seen him around.
Okay.
Young guy with grease black hair. Dom Scamaldo.
And he got,
But
go ahead.
no, go ahead.
He got that thing greased up in like an hour and a half. So we came, we tried and kicked it, no compression. Obviously, we didn't put oil in it quite yet, but he fixed some things, hoses, and good as new,
Yeah.
Not too bad.
Yeah. Well, like you said, these things run through a lot of oil. So almost every time.
Yeah, but it just reminded me of like the old Timex commercials, they just keep on ticking.
Yeah.
when we couldn't find spark plugs, we were down at 2 different auto parts stores, so we just cleaned up the ones we had. They looked like they had been burnt a little bit, but we cleaned them up, got them back in, changed the gas hose, poured some gas in, poured the oil, and that's essentially it. And we kicked it on about the 5th kick, it kicked over.
That's awesome.
And it was like, yeah,
Big
this
puff
thing
of
is
smoke,
running.
Now it
and,
doesn't even smoke.
that's not bad for guys that haven't kicked over bikes before, because
Oh, he blew his knee out.
Yeah, pretty much. Little
That
hybrid
was
extension.
yesterday,
Yeah.
the day before.
But the cool thing was, Dom was talking about, I'm like, hey, dude, I want to build something like this, but I want to build it so I know how it works. And he's like, dude, I grew up in my grandpa's garage. They were building, then my dad's garage, they were building. So from the time I was walking until they threw me on the bike with a beer at 12, I already knew how to fix all the shit. So it's ingrained in you. You learn more, you hang out with more people, you learn things.
Well,
That's
and
the
he
cool
was
part.
talking about simplifying things, like let's get rid of all this and just do the wiring right, so
Right.
that when you do break down,
Yeah.
it's only a matter of a few different things.
Right.
Carry
Yeah.
some extra spark plugs, get yourself some baling wire, do some things that, and because they're going to break down at some point.
They are.
They're rattling and you're going to lose something, and you got to
So what do we do? Bring a computer with us and try and because with ours,
Plug it in.
you're like,
Yeah. No, you'll, I mean, you got to work on them yourself, and you got to get used to your bike. You got to know, you know, um, you know what issues it has, you know,
Right.
and sometimes they're, you know, reoccurring. Sometimes you are pulling your hair out trying to figure out what the
Right.
problem is.
And
you
it
know?
could be as simple as a wire came loose somewhere, and you're
Yeah.
like, "What the hell?"
Well,
Yeah.
we always tell people we don't have cars. All of us just ride only. We oil change and service our own bikes. We do all that stuff, and we say just what you said. Because if you're washing your bike or you're changing the oil, you're touching your machine, you're going to find little things, or you're going to just know it a little bit better, even if it's a modern bike.
If you're touching your machine,
Yeah.
Not in public.
that's a soft
Yeah.
porn thing, I think.
Well, we do it in the warehouse, not,
We touch our machines in the warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I mean, you know, just rinsing off my bike, we found a crack in the front end that needed to be welded up. You know, who knows how much farther it could have
Right.
gone, but you know,
And that's the thing about choppers. I mean, if you're out in the middle of nowhere and the frame cracks,
Just
you guys
go to
are-
the local Harley-Davidson shop. They'll carry the tool.
Speaking of which, we got Justin Scott tuning in, Mr. Big Red. So he
Ah.
says what's up to you boys.
Hey, Big Red.
Big Red.
Yeah, buddy.
So it's funny because just the motorcycle community. I grew up in Salt Lake City. My dad had a shop behind our house that he did cabinets and different things, woodworking. And a guy by the name of Scott Peterson was like a 17-year-old kid down the street, and him and another guy by the name of Jeff Perry would come and work at night and help my dad out, and he'd pay him. And I got to grow up with them and learn them. They're probably 10 or 15 years older than I am. And I'm out here and we start, riding around, and my mom calls me and says, "Do you know Grant Peterson?" And I'm like, or he said, "Do you know what Grant Peterson's doing?" And I said, "No, I mean, that's a name from the past."
yeah,
And she said, he has something called Born Free.
right,
And
yeah,
I'm like, "What?"
yeah,
And so I called him and I said, "I can't believe this." And now every year that we go, I meet his dad there as
Yeah.
well, because his dad goes every year.
And his
Ah,
dad
And
likes
it's
2LaneLIVE.
almost like he's wearing 2LaneLIVE stuff, and it's almost like a yearly reunion that I get to go back and because my dad's passed away,
yeah,
but it brings back those childhood memories. And then to see his kid, that's a younger kid, into this scene and doing the Texas show now.
yeah. Yeah,
I mean, it's just amazing.
I saw ran into Grant and Bisbee, and I think it's a great thing that those guys are doing. It's probably the biggest show in the country, I think, and now they're moving it out to Texas. But they spotlight choppers, and a lot of people have found a new love, when they discover choppers, and I wasn't all when I got into, well, let's see, I'm gonna back up a little bit. I was a pro rodeo cowboy for 10 years. I quit rodeoing because I stopped winning. And you've got to win to make money. It's different than any other professional sport out
Right.
there. If you're not winning, you're spending money, right? So I wanted to do something different, and I had some buddies that were also cowboys that rode bikes. They rode baggers mostly. And I was over at a buddy's house, and I was smoking cigars with him, kind of like this. And they said, "Well, why don't you get a bike?" And I used to ride a lot when I was a kid. I mean, I started riding when I was like 8 years old, dirt bikes. I go, "Yeah, I think I'd like to get a chopper, or build a chopper or something." They're like, "Oh, no, you want a bagger." I go, "I do?" And I go, yeah, you want a bagger. So I went out and I bought a bagger, and I rode that around, but I always still wanted a chopper.
Yeah.
And then finally, I met Vince, and I was looking at the choppers that he was building, and I go, "Man, this is really what I want," and so that's kind of how I got into choppers was seeing bikes at a show, really. And so I think there's a lot of people that go to Born Free. I mean, I hear them all the time. They actually tell me, "Man, wow, I really want a bike like this. This is really what I want to do." my only advice is you better know how to work on bikes, or you better hang out with guys that do.
Right.
Don't go out and buy a chopper if you can't fix it, because it'll be sitting in your garage and you'll be back on whatever other bike that you had before that. But
well, I think it's a cool thing that he's got going, and there's a bunch of these guys that we met. We talked with Jason Sims, and he does the Cannonball runs. But you can't have a bike older than 1935. And
Newer.
the GPS on those bikes, on a lot of those bikes, is a scroller, the roller map. So and you can't be on 4 lanes. It's all back roads. And it's insane.
And if you break down on that run and you can't fix it, you're out.
done.
You're fucked.
Yeah. That
certain classes.
It amazes me, because some of those guys are much older than we are.
Yeah.
And they're doing that run. But most of those guys are just legendary at that point.
Yeah.
And they can, pull the bike from the ground, no problem.
So how did you get hooked up with Brian and Josh and all those? Because I know you guys all connected, obviously, because of choppers.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the first people I met, I think it was Gilby and Christopher at a Born Free show. And Gilby's been around the chopper scene since the 80s, like the late 80s. He's been building choppers. As a matter of fact, Gilby won the first Born Free.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on that panhead that he took to Bisbee, as a matter of fact. And I had just finished the Rooster, and we ended up going. We talked about going to a chopper party someplace in downtown LA. And from there, I met a few other people. How I met Brian was, I was always looking for more people to ride with, and I was at the rock store, and whenever I see an old chopper roll in, and Brian rolled in on an old shovel head, I always want to go up, take a look at their bike, talk to them a little bit. You live local? Hey, let's ride. So our group really grew from maybe, when I started riding with those guys from 10 choppers. Now we've got like 30 guys that we ride with.
Yeah.
And Brian was already friends with Josh Brolin. Brian's a big time photographer. He's got multiple books, and right now I know that I've been riding with him for quite a few years now, and he's been taking a lot of photos. And so I would imagine at some point there's going to be a really great chopper book coming out from all the photos that he's taken. His first book was, it seemed like it was all celebrities,
right.
And the cover is a photo shoot that he did with Cindy Crawford.
Uh-huh.
But you look through that book, and Brian's worked with everybody. He's really legendary in the motion
Hollywood,
picture Hollywood business. I think he shoots like movie posters for the most part. Follow Brian Bowen Smith on Instagram, and you'll see all the people he works with. But I would imagine he's probably, and we've talked about a little bit, he's going to do a chopper book at some point. And
he's got a library full of pictures.
Such a nice guy, and his wife. Pictures. Our wives actually met his wife last year at the 120th. Yeah.
But
Shay's what's funny about that is I told my daughter, or she saw a picture, and I said, Brian took a picture of us and our wives somewhere.
Oh, okay.
And my daughter saw it and goes, I hang out at his house with the daughters or with the kids, her kids.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, hey, my dad's too. Like, oh, really? So it's like this world connections.
And there's a great, well, I shouldn't call it a great video on Instagram, because I think I shot a lot of it.
So it's great.
It's great. But it's his son. And he was being presented with an old shovel head.
Yep.
And one of our friends won it in a raffle and donated it to Brian. And then Brian had a bunch of our friends get together and behind the scenes
at the old place
do some work.
Do the work.
It was at the old place. Yeah. But as people were working on the bikes at our different garages and everything. And then the video, I love the video because Jonah, who had just turned, I think he turned
16?
19. Yeah, he had a Sportster, but this was his transition, an upgrade.
Yeah, then
call
I
it,
was
to the
wrong on
shovel.
that because I was like, how's he riding up and he's only 15 years old?
Oh,
Yeah.
But, but maybe he's 19 then.
Yeah, I think it was his 19th birthday, but he got the shovel head. And, he had told his dad what he wanted. He wanted a rigid frame, shovel head, and he wanted red. He likes red.
Yeah.
And so, the boys just came together and put that bike together. Big shout out to Gilby Clark for all the work he did on it. But the bike's beautiful. And Jonah turns around and sees that bike there, and he just lost it.
Jackets and stuff.
We watched. It was a cool, it was a good video. And hey, Brian, you talked to me a long time ago about putting some lettering on your son's tank, and you haven't come through or come over because I got the brushes and the lettering enamel. Just tell me when.
Yeah.
What's Brian's Instagram? I was gonna try and show the camera.
Brian Bowen Smith.
Brian Bowen Smith.
I found Jonah.
Yeah, the video you'll find on my Instagram.
Oh,
I
gotcha.
think it's the third video from the.
There we go.
it's
I got
Penn.
Let's see.
It's Penn, and it's just a great video.
One night I was at sushi.
With that filter,
Yeah,
it shows
a lot
up red, but people will
Well,
be able to
that's weird.
see a little
maybe.
something. So he kind of
Yeah, so that's
up here.
Jonah. That's Jonah showing up there, and he thinks everybody's there to, just say hello to him, but
Right.
he doesn't realize that right behind him, we kind of covered the bike in coats and stuff like
Jackets and
that.
stuff.
Yeah. But you can go on my Instagram at rooster.com and see that video. It's
So why were you crying here so much?
yeah, right.
So the first time that I met Brian, I was in a sushi restaurant over here on Topanga, and he was sitting there with his wife and Blue Todd,
oh yeah.
and I recognized Blue Todd.
Oh, okay.
So I said, what the hell? I walked over and they'll go, hey, I know you from blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I know 2LaneLIVE. And then he introduced me to Brian.
Oh, okay.
That was my first meeting
Yeah.
2 years ago. So.
Yeah. Todd's great.
Yeah.
So we're coming up on an hour and 12.
Yeah.
No way.
I got to
Yeah,
get to the
and
dealership
we
to
gotta
get a little
the dealership
something.
is called. We are getting new platforms, and
Okay.
his came in today.
Ah.
Ours we don't know, so we're on EagleRider. We're gonna do a great ride up to Pismo, but man, this is the first having a cigar on a live.
This is a first. You've been awesome. This has been a really good show.
So we need to thank you for that because I was kind of worried about the sprinkler system.
Yeah. Right.
And it worked.
It worked.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, we definitely should have you back.
Anytime.
Follow your
anytime.
builds. I mean, your bike's beautiful.
Yeah, I'd love
Your-
to when the monster's done.
Yeah, maybe
It'd
I'll
be
come
fun
on
to
with
do.
Brian one of these times.
Absolutely.
That'd be cool.
We tried to get him on the show once. He goes, I don't know if I really do those. And I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's a good guy. But
If his friend was with him, he'd do it.
Yeah. And listen, any chance Brian gets to ham it up? Are you kidding me?
we had Rooster on first.
yeah, that's
you
right.
know.
But we really appreciate you taking the call. I know you've been busy, and we've run into you a little bit here and there. And thank Jen because she kind of made the introduction, and I think you're good friends with Colleen and that whole group.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what
Hey,
happens
Colleen.
here? What happens here, though, and we tell every guest that's been on our show, you've been on our show, but now maybe it's unfortunate for you, your family. Your family here.
I love that. I
So-
love that.
So anytime you want to kick it down from Chatsworth and have a cigar,
Do you know how far I am from the studio?
How far?
I was under 1 mile.
no way.
I live on the other side of Topanga.
No
there.
way.
Yeah.
Right on.
Well, it was 0.7 miles.
Wow. Wow.
But we've got the lounge area here. We could sit in there and have a scotch and a
Well,
whiskey.
I didn't know you had this liquor cabinet. I'll
Yeah.
be here every day.
You know what's funny with the cigars? Kind of felt like it was only 20 minutes. Like we could go for another 3 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But maybe we'll get you, Brian, Josh, sit down here and have a chopper talk. And if you guys ever want to get 3 bikes, that maybe we can do a little run with you.
I don't
Tell
know.
you what,
I can do a run with
You're
you.
pro already.
He might be on a. I'm going to take the Purple Haze.
No, I would take
There
one
you
if
go.
the forks weren't 10 feet long.
Hey, listen.
It's just
Brian
wild.
has. Oh man, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on his name. Oh boy, he's a drummer. He plays with the Beach Boys. What's his name? You guys
Brian.
Anybody who's John Stamos. John Stamos.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So John Stamos, he's at John Stamos's house, and John Stamos's wife goes, "There's an old Harley that is in the garage, and it's got to go." And Brian goes, "Well, let's go take a look at it. It's an old knucklehead that was given to him when he did some movie. It was in a movie." And John Stamos is like, "Yeah, Brian, if you want it, you can have it." And Brian's like, "Oh, okay, I'll take that." Yeah. And so the guys have, we have these Wednesday whiskey and wrench nights. We all get together, drink whiskey, and work on bikes. And he got that bike, so maybe we could, put you on something like that. It's got a little more suspension and
I mean,
a little more comfortable.
If we took a little trip back in time, because we call our bikes time machines because they take us back in time. But if we're
gonna have to go to like
we gotta go
stores.
We gotta go back to our roots and find out where these bikes came from.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you want to go to Milwaukee?
Yeah.
Anyway,
we'll start with Neptune's nut. And,
something simple.
Yeah.
I hope you guys
See how that
enjoyed this
goes.
show because we enjoyed the hell out of it.
And with
Josh?
that, you know what? We got to get to the dealership and sign some paperwork, and we will,
See you down the road.
uh-huh.
Thanks, Rooster.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.